Hello and welcome to 1000 Verses Bible Quiz channel. Today we have carefully chosen and organized 15 challenging questions to test how well you know the Bible. Before you start the quiz, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next episode. Give your comment about the quiz and how you've scored in the comment section below. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question 1. Why did Haman want to kill the entire Jewish nation? He wanted to stop the Jews worshiping their God. Mordecai would not bow down to him. Queen Esther would not invite him to her feast. His servants told him the Jews wanted to assassinate him. The answer is Mordecai would not bow down to him. Esther, chapter 3, verse 5. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor, he was enraged. Having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. Question 2. What day was set for the extermination of the Jews? 13th day of Adar, 12th day of Elul, 1st day of Nisan, 2nd day of Sivan. The answer is 13th day of Adar. Esther, chapter 3, verse 13. On the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. Question 3. What did Mordecai do when he heard about Haman's plan to kill the Jews? Cursed Haman in the street, burned down Haman's house, put on sackcloth and ashes, went to plead with the king. The answer is put on sackcloth and ashes. Esther chapter 4, verses 1 to 3. When Mordecai heard about Haman's plan to kill the Jews, he responded with mourning, fasting, and prayer. Mordecai tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went into the city, crying out loudly in distress. He urged Esther, who was queen at the time, to intercede with King Xerxes on behalf of their people. Question 4. How long did Esther fast for before going to see the king? 40 days and nights, 3 days and nights, 1 day, 7 days. The answer is 3 days and nights. Esther, chapter 4, verse 16. Esther's decision to fast for 3 days before approaching King Xerxes demonstrated her reliance on God's guidance and protection as she prepared to intercede on behalf of her people. Question 5. What did the king hold out to Esther to show she could approach him? The golden crown, his hand, his ring, the golden scepter. The answer is the golden scepter. Esther, chapter 5, verse 2. When he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, He was pleased with her and held out to her the gold scepter that was in his hand. So Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Question 6. What was the name of Haman's wife? Zeresh, Bigthana, Tereah, Abihail. The answer is Zeresh. Esther chapter 5, verse 10. Calling together his friends, and Zeresh, his wife, Haman, boasted to them about his vast wealth, his many sons, and all the ways the king had honored him, and how he had elevated him above the other nobles and officials. Question 7. What did the king do when he couldn't sleep? Read the history books, counted sheep, asked his servant to entertain him, called for a glass of water. The answer is read the history books. Esther chapter 6, verse 1. That night, King Xerxes could not sleep, so he ordered the book of the Chronicles, the record of his reign, to be brought in and read to him. It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, who had conspired to assassinate him. Question 8. How did the king reward Mordecai for saving him from an assassination attempt? He paid him 100 talents of silver. Haman led him through the streets on the king's horse. He was given the king's signet ring. He allowed him to be exempt from the Jewish extermination order. The answer is Haman led him through the streets on the king's horse. Esther chapter 6, verse 11. Haman got the robe and the horse. He robed Mordecai and led him on horseback through the city streets, proclaiming before him, "This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor." Question 9. Who did Queen Esther invite to her banquets? Just the king and Mordecai, the king and Haman, the king and his chief princes. The answer is the king and Haman. Esther chapter 5, verse 4. If it pleases the king, replied Esther, let the king, together with Haman, come today to a banquet I have prepared for him. Question 10. How many banquets did Queen Esther hold? 1, 2, 3, 4. The answer is 2. Esther chapter 5, verses 4 to 8, and Esther chapter 7, verses 1 to 6. Queen Esther held 2 banquets. The first one was held for King Xerxes and Haman. At this banquet, she invited them to another banquet the following day. In the second banquet, Esther revealed her request to King Xerxes, asking him to spare her life and the lives of her people, the Jews, from the plot devised by Haman. Question 11. How did Haman die? He was hanged on the gallows he prepared for Mordecai. He was killed by the king's princes by the sword. The Jews were allowed revenge by killing Haman. He was exiled to a distant land and died there. The answer is, he was hanged on the gallows he prepared for Mordecai. Esther, chapter 7, verses 9 to 10. Haman's downfall came after Queen Esther exposed his wicked plot to King Xerxes, revealing Haman's plan to annihilate the Jewish people. Angered by Haman's treachery and deceit, King Xerxes ordered Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had erected for Mordecai. Question 12. How did the king stop the extermination of the Jews? He reversed his previous decree. He gave the Jews the right to defend themselves. He commanded the Jews to lock themselves in their houses. He ordered that anyone who killed a Jew was to be executed. The answer is, he gave the Jews the right to defend themselves. Esther, chapter 8, verses 8 to 11. King Xerxes granted Queen Esther and Mordecai permission to issue a new decree in his name, allowing the Jews throughout the Persian Empire to defend themselves against their enemies on the appointed day of the planned massacre. This decree effectively nullified Haman's previous decree and gave the Jews the legal right to protect themselves from harm. Question 13. What color was Mordecai's royal apparel? Red and white. White. Green and white. Blue and white. The answer is blue and white. Esther, chapter 8, verse 15. When Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen, and the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. Question 14. How many sons did Haman have? 5, 7, 10, 15. The answer is 10. Esther chapter 9, verse 10. In the citadel of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. They also killed Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Parmashta, Arisai, Aridai, and Vaizatha, the 10 sons of Haman's son of Hamadatha, the enemy of the Jews. Question 15. What festival was instituted to celebrate the fact that the Jews were saved? Passover, Purim, Tabernacles, Atonement. The answer is Purim. Esther chapter 9, verse 28. The festival of Purim commemorates the deliverance of the Jewish people from the plot of Haman, who sought to annihilate them throughout the Persian Empire. The festival is celebrated with joy, feasting, the reading of the book of Esther, giving gifts to the poor, and other traditional customs. Congratulations, you did it! You completed our Bible quiz. If you enjoyed this Bible quiz, give it thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos like this. Don't forget to share what you've learned about God's Word with family and friends.